styles. Philippines has been governed under three constitutions, the first of which was promulgated in 1935 during the period of U.S. administration. It was closely modeled on the U.S. Constitution and included provisions for a bicameral legislative branch, an executive branch headed by a president, and an independent judiciary. During the period of martial law, under President Marcos, the old constitution was abolished and replaced by a new document that changed the Philippine government from a US-style presidential system to a parliamentary form. The president became head of state and executive power was vested in a prime minister and cabinet. President Marcos, however, also served as prime minister and ruled by decree. Subsequent amendments and modifications of that constitution replaced the former bicameral legislature with a unicameral body and gave the president even more powers, including the ability to dissolve the legislature and to appoint a prime minister from among members of the legislature. Brunei leadership styles. Brunei became a self-governing state and adopted a constitution, although the British retained jurisdiction over foreign policy, defense, and internal security. Limited attempts at elected representative government under this constitution were abandoned by 1970. After Brunei attained full independence in 1984, an Islamic sultanate was established, and the constitution, while retained, underwent significant amendment. Ultimate authority rests with the Sultan, who is both head of state and head of government. As prime minister, he presides over a council of ministers and is advised by several other councils. Uh, the members of these bodies are appointed by the Sultan. In 2004, the Sultan approved a number of amendments to the Constitution, although a provision for a partially elected Legislative Council was among the amendments. Elections have not been held. Is after the downfall of Marcos in 1986, a new constitution certified document was drafted and was ratified in a popular referendum held in February 1987. Its key to a bicameral legislature called the Congress of the Philippines, consisting of a House of Representatives and a much smaller Senate. House members are elected from districts, although a number of them are appointed. They can serve no more than three consecutive three-year terms of two six-year terms. The first legislative election under the new constitution was held in May 1987. The president, the head of state, can be elected to only a single six-year term and the vice president to two consecutive six-year terms. The president appoints the cabinet, which consists of the head of the various ministries responsible for running the day-to-day business of the government. Most presidential appointments are subject to the approval of a commission of appointments, equal numbers of senators and representatives.
Efficiency or inefficiency respective bureaucracy. The Executive Opinion Survey in the 2017 to 2018 World Economic Forum Global Competitiveness Report highlighted an inefficient government bureaucracy as the most problematic factor for doing business in the Philippines. The other factors identified in their order of being problematic were an inadequate supply of infrastructure, corruption, tax regulation, and tax. Several other factors were cited, though it was the inefficient government bureaucracy that was on top on the list and considered by practically all respondents as the biggest problem in doing business in the country. While boom and bust cycles have frequently ravaged South Asia's economies, the small Sultanate of Brunei has been mostly insulated from financial fallout. But a sustained slump in global energy prices has taken a heavy toll on the fuel exporting nation, raising hard questions about its economic and political future. Brunei's oil and gas reserves are expected to run out within 2 decades. As production falls, oil firms will not be investing much in existing facilities, further hampering output, oil analysts say. As a result, the country's oil revenues, which provide virtually all of Brunei's government spending, are in steady decline.
Government structure including programs, services provided for their constituents. The Philippines is a republic with a presidential form of government wherein power is equally divided among its three branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. The Philippines is a democratic and republican state. Sovereignty resides in the people and all government authority emanated from them. One basic corollary in a presidential system of government is the principle of separation of powers, wherein legislation belongs to Congress, execution to the executive, and settlement of legal controversies to the judiciary. While the politics of Brunei take place in a framework of an absolute monarchy, whereby the Sultan of Brunei is both head of state and head of government. Executive power is exercised by the government. Brunei has a legislative council with 36 appointed members that only has consultative tasks. Brunei is one of the few countries left that still adopts an absolute monarchy system of government in the guise of constitutional sultanate. The Sultan of Brunei is the most powerful man because he is both the head of state and the head of government concurrently. He appoints and dismisses his ministers, and no one can say no or programs and services. The Pantawid Filipino Program or for Peace is a human development measure of the national government of the Philippines that provides conditional cash grants to the poorest of the poor to improve the health, nutrition, and the education of children aged 0 to 18. It is patterned after the conditional cash transfer or contribution in Africa that lifted millions of people around the world from poverty. The Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD is the lead government agency of the 4Ps. The objectives of 4Ps are giving monetary extremely poor families to respond to their immediate needs and social development, breaking the intergenerational poverty cycle by investing in health and education of poor children through programs. And Brunei has a major problem about youth employment, so they developed a program called the Youth Development Center. This center, under the Ministry of Culture, Youth, and Sports, focuses on youth that are not able to continue their education in the normal academic stream. The center, which was built in 1969, has gone through a substantial facelift by upgrading its image and adding new facilities to increase the use and implementing any youth-related programs is for the youth and by the youth. The program is open to youth age 16 to 21, where they are stationed in a designated camp for 3 months. So far, this program has successfully completed its 3 pilot projects and is currently on its 4th project.
So Philippine form of government is a public with presidential form of government wherein power is equally divided among its three branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. So legislative branch is authorized to make laws, alter and repeal them through the power vested in the Philippine Congress, while executive branch is composed of the president and the vice president who are elected by directed popular vote and serve as term for 6 years. Judicial branch holds the power to settle controversies involving rights that are legally demandable and enforceable. Brunei form of government is a country on the north coast of the island of Brunei. The country is entirely surrounded by the state of Sarawak, Malaysia. The government of Brunei is set on the framework of absolute monarchy, and the Sultan is the head of state and head of government prime. So prime minister. Um, The Council of Succession was established by the Sultan and has the primary role in determining the succession of monarchy when such need arises. All judgments and decisions made by the Council of Successions are based on provisions of the Melayu Islam Berahe. Brunei Religious Council is a body established by the Sultan whose primary role is to advise the Sultan on all Islam-based issues. The Legislature Council of Brunei is comprised of 33 members who are all appointed by the Sultan. The Legislative Council of Brunei is an unicameral parliament. The Speaker is the leader of the legislature and the primary role is to moderate parliamentary proceedings.